All right, hello everybody, welcome. My name is Shaina, I'm an astrologer, and today I am going to be talking about progressed charts, okay? But specifically, my experience with the progressed Capricorn moon that just finished up this previous May. I went through my progressed Capricorn moon from May of 2023 to May of 2025. Also, my progressed Capricorn moon was like 98% held in my 6th house, so I'll also be talking about progressed 6th house moons. Now, if you do not know what a progressed chart is, if you do not know what I'm talking about, I actually have a video, I'll link it in the cards, all about progressed charts and astrology. So if you want a little, like maybe a refresher, or if you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out that video that explains everything. So I won't be talking about what a progressed chart is in this video or what the progressed moon is, but I will be thoroughly explaining progressed Capricorn moon and progressed 6th house moon, while also talking about my experiences with it, at least through the lens of what things happened that I think just are so Capricorn in the 6th house moon, or the aspects that I went through during that time. Inevitably, you'll be going through a progressed 6th house moon at some point and a progressed Capricorn moon at some point. The likelihood of them being together while you experience it are lower, but I'll also be talking about aspects. So even though obviously this isn't your experience, there's still, I think, a lot to learn from it. And I think that firsthand accounts of things are so helpful because it really is hard to get that information. I feel like most of the time we learn astrology through a book, but it's hard to get those real life examples unless, you hear somebody talking and you're able to correlate them if you have their chart right. So I don't know. I think this is really good research information. And also I just want to say this. Okay, I should get this out of the way. I have an incense burning. So that's what that smoke is. Nothing's on fire. Okay. Moving forward. But yes, as many of you know, I'm going through my Saturn return. I actually already made a video about part 1 of my Saturn return. That'll be linked up in the cards here if you want to watch that, if you're curious. But basically, my next video will be my Saturn return part 2 update after this one. But I'm going through a lot of changes in my life. And not only that, I think what people might forget to understand is that, like, how do I explain this? It's like I'm still deciding. Does that make sense? Like I'm still trying to figure out if this is 100% what I want to do. So that's why I didn't just like start off by announcing it, because I didn't know how this was going to go down. I didn't know if this was happening. I'm still very insecure about this change. And so you have to understand that it's like, it's not like it's something that I've planned for, right? And that I was like, yes, 1000%. Like I'm still like, I still in my heart of hearts am so on the fence about all the changes, which if you don't know, I'm going through breakup and I'm moving across the country. Anyway, so that's why, I talk about that in my previous video, my life update. I don't want to get too much into it. That's enough of getting into it, but that's why I'm kind of MIA. That's why I'm touch and go. And also it's why I'm like, might not fully be myself, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but if I feel a little off in this video, like I am 100% off. So you don't have to tell me in the comments, I know, but I really wanted to do this video because it's about the time that I spent in this house and with this background. Basically, I figured it would be a good video to do as my last video, and I want to talk about it and do it in this energy so I can move on to the next energy. And so basically, yeah, this is a goodbye to this background as well. This is such a long intro, but this is a goodbye to this background as well. Obviously, I'll be setting up a new background. I'll probably have a lot of the same stuff up. Oh, let me get the advertising out of the way. So I'm not really active on TikTok right now. Maybe I am, I don't know, but I'll get back into everything in October. But I have a TikTok, okay? I have a TikTok. It's at Shaina. Oh my God, I'm so out of touch. Is it at Shaina.Emily or at Shaina Emily? It's this one. And then I also have a backup at shaina.emily backup. Okay, so it's at shaina.emily is my TikTok. At shaina.emily backup is my backup TikTok. That took me a lot of takes to do. And my website is shainaemily.com. Oh my God. Anyways, that's why I sell birth chart readings. I got a lot of stuff out there. Sorry. If you didn't know, I have a video. If you didn't know, I have a video about my progressed Sagittarius moon in the 5th house. It was intercepted a lot of the time. I guess I'll link that up here. I also have 2 videos about my progressed Scorpio moon. But yeah, so I've got a little bit of a documentation in my life. And let's keep it going because I don't have a memory. So this also will serve as my memory at later dates. I don't have any Scorpio energy, so I'm not one of those people that remembers their life, unfortunately. All right, so my experience with progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house. So natally, I have a Capricorn moon in the 7th house. So this is my progressed lunar return. I will talk about progressed lunar return when I get to around the 16-degree mark. But, you know, I do think it started, honestly, when it went into 0 degrees Capricorn in the 6th house. Because basically, okay, I guess I'll explain it now, but I'm sorry. I promise I have notes. Basically, a progressed lunar return, which if you don't know what progressed charts are, you're gonna have to watch my video about it. But a progressed lunar return is when your progressed moon returns to the same sign, not house. Well, that's a progressed lunar house return. I don't know, nobody ever talks about that, but I think there's probably some validity to it, which is the one I'm going through in just a second, actually. I'm not there yet, but anyways. It's basically, since I'm a natal Capricorn moon, my progressed lunar return is when my progressed moon goes into Capricorn. Especially, I'm a 16-degree moon, so when it hits 16 degrees is the exact month. It stays in that degree for about a month-ish, maybe a little less. I guess mine move fast, I don't know. So whenever it returns back to my progressed chart Capricorn, which is this video, it just basically is kind of like the end of a chapter and the start of a new one. It happens, it's like the 27 Club, if you've ever heard of that, you know, when artists kind of like, they all, like great artists for some reason, like they died around the age of 27. But basically what it is before you get to the degree of your natal moon, which like, for example, if you're a 10-degree Leo moon, your progressed lunar return would start in Leo and then it would hit its peak at 10 degrees, right? And maybe especially if you're like an early degree, like Leo, like let's say Cancer moon or something, you probably start to feel it during the Gemini moon as well. And you probably feel it for the whole of the Cancer moon, in my opinion. Basically it's not like an exact science there. Okay. But the time leading up to your natal degree, I think is a horrible time. I think it's really hard for everybody emotionally. Even if everything around your life is going really well, I think it's really hard emotionally because you basically have explored every single point of your chart, right? And it points to the 27 Club because you start to realize, wow, like I've done so much, I've been so many places, but I'm still the person I've always been. And I think when you're, for example, like a famous artist, you think, these famous artists they dealt with like a lot of substance abuse, maybe some mental health issues, maybe some depression, maybe some feelings of inferiority, who knows, right? And so they get all this fame and stuff, and then they get to their progressed lunar return and they're like, oh my God, I get all this fame, but I'm still me. I still have to deal with me. My problems haven't changed. I still have this substance abuse, for example, or whatever it may be. And so it can be a really hard time. If you feel like you're maybe unsuccessful or not as successful as you want it to be, you can feel like I've done so much work, I've done so much in my life, which is how I was feeling. I've done so much in my life, but like I feel like I have nothing to show for it. And then when you get to your natal degree, that's like the peak moment. But then I think that the time after that natal degree is a time where you feel like you finally know yourself, or at least you know yourself a little better than before. We're always discovering ourselves, we're always changing, but you start to know those things in you that are always going to remain true and stagnant. Like, yeah, I've always been X, Y, and Z since childhood, and this is true, right? And this will always be something that I can go back to. And I think that you finally, after your progressed lunar return, after that, like you hit that natal degree, I think you really start to grow, and I think that that's really kind of, even if your life doesn't take off, I'm not saying that everybody has a super successful life suddenly at like 27, 28, but I think there's a little bit of a feeling more of like going towards what it is that you really want because you're able to identify it and know it more. All right. So that's the progressed lunar return. Okay. Obviously with mine being in Capricorn in the 6th house, immediately there were themes of work and also as well finances. But yes, so it starts off in the 5th house only for like a month or two, if that, but it's square Saturn and square Mars, and it's a part of a T-square. Okay. So, with Mars, Saturn, and the moon, which Mars opposite Libra is a huge theme in my life. I have it at like, I have it at 0 degrees of like 5 minutes or something. The moon hitting it and making a T-square out of it was pretty challenging, honestly. I was basically, at this time, I was living in an RV during my progressed Sagittarius moon in the 5th house, so I was like bouncing from place to place as well, and blah blah blah. I talk about that in my progressed Sagittarius moon, but that's basically where I left off. Was that I had just moved out of the RV, and what I'm talking about was where I was in that video. I just moved out of the RV and I was renting a room in Vegas, which was about an hour and a half away from where I was living with my boyfriend in the RV. And basically I had finally gotten also approved moved to take Pixie home, which is my dog. So this was right when I took my dog home, which I thought it was so perfect for a progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house, right? 6th house specifically rules small pets. So it makes sense that during this time, I got my first ever small pet that is truly mine, my dog. Well, I don't know how small she is. She's about like 50, 60 pounds. I can't quite remember. But she's the littlest one in her family. Anyways, but yeah, so basically, there were puppies. I was wanting to take care of the puppies, also very 6th house. Also, it's like a sense of, you know, maturity, responsibility, Capricorn moon. Also, it's just something that I'd always wanted that felt very true to me. I've always loved dogs. I've always loved pets. I was working very hard also. I had taken off some time because my life was so inconsistent, you know, during my progressed Sagittarius moon, as you'd expect. Had taken a step back from TikTok, and I was struggling to get my YouTube channel started. And so finally I was kind of paying back attention to my TikTok. I'm pretty sure I was starting to do lives again for a little bit. I think I was obviously starting to post on my YouTube finally, but I was really struggling to make ends meet. I was renting a room in a house with 3 other people. They were all 40s or 50s plus. There was like probably like a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, and I think like a 70-year-old or something like that. And I was 26. Basically a few months later, I wound up having to leave in a rush again. Because of the like 60 or 70-year-old man. Okay, and if you remember my my ranking video from 2023, I put Capricorns low because of a roommate that I had said I had, and this was the Capricorn roommate. I put Capricorns lower on the list than probably ever before, and one of the reasons was because of this old man roommate who was a Capricorn. He became such an issue. I don't even know what I did. I cleaned the house. I don't know what I did, dude. But yeah, he just decided he didn't like me. He decided he didn't want my dog around, I think. I don't know. But then I had to get out. He had all these lawsuits on him. It was wild. Anyways, and so then it moves into the 6th house in July of 2023. It's still, you know, square those same, Saturn and Mars. And again, I started taking work even more seriously. In July, though, I was still living in that house that I had just mentioned. I'm so sorry. But, oh God, what was the time frame? No, I think I left. In July 2023, it moved in the 6th house. In August was when I had to leave in a rush, and I had to stay in these like Airbnbs that my boyfriend's friend had. Thank you so much. Shout out to him for letting me stay there. Oh my God. Oh, so kind. And so I had a place to stay. I wound up renting out this casita, basically, like a guest house. They called it a casita, which was right next door to my boyfriend. And he found this place, and he was the one that kind of found it for me because he was talking to his neighbors next door, and he was like, hey, are you renting this out? Blah, blah, blah. And they were like, yes. So basically that's how it worked out. Also during this time, right at the beginning of my progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house, because it was very pained. You know, what's interesting is when I was looking at this time, maybe a few years before it happened, maybe in like 2021, 2020. And I was like, I wonder if it's because I'll be like working so much, I'll be burnt out on astrology. Because when I was looking at it, I was doing a lot of astrology stuff. Be careful, you know, you never know your circumstances, because it wound up being the opposite. I thought I was going to get burnt out, but it was actually the opposite. I was desperate to work. You know, my moon was square my Mars because I was desperate to do astrology stuff and do readings and to work. It was really challenging for me to start up again and get my flow going, especially maybe with moon square Mars, moon square Saturn. It just felt like, yeah, I felt also very restricted as well because I didn't have a steady place to stay. So it was hard to find times where I had privacy and have times where I could think. But I started taking work more seriously because I was really wanting to get things into gear. I was like, this is my progressed Capricorn in the 6th house moon. I really want to use this time as much as possible, as productively as possible. I revamped my website. I also, moved into that little casita guest house. So I was taking care of my own place finally. Also, I was like trying to figure out places to live. Progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house, but I didn't have, any good resources after having such sporadic places for, living in such sporadic places during my progressed Sagittarius moon. And I also didn't have any co-signers because very progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house, that independence, having to take care of yourself. This was the start of me really having no relationship relationships with anybody in my family. Capricorn moon square Saturn, I think. I lived in the casita for a few months, and after just like, I think a week, honestly, she decided that even though my boyfriend was the one that got me the place, basically, and she knew that the whole reason why I was staying there was because it was next door to where my boyfriend and his dad were living, so it gave me my own space, but I was close. But then she decided that she didn't ever want him over, and she decided that she didn't like him anymore, and she decided that if he came over, he was trespassing. And so again, moon in Capricorn square Saturn, it's like, what are these obstacles? What's going on? It's not like we didn't tell her, like he was the whole one night, like she knew him first. It doesn't make any sense. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. It has to be square Mars. Anytime I try something, it gets in the way. I can't find peace. Square Saturn, all these obstacles, all these hurdles, right? I just felt like, because I felt like anytime I found like an easy solution or an easy answer, the world didn't like it, right? Like I felt like the casita was like a nice, easy solution or band-aid on the situation, but not like the actual final, end all thing, right? Anyway, so I had to move back into the RV. And again, because I'm trying to find that stability of the Capricorn moon in the 6th house. I basically want to move into a house with my boyfriend, and it's hard for him to not live with his father because his father's older and blah, blah, blah. They only have each other, okay? But anyways, we wind up getting into this big, horrible fight with his dad, and his dad kicks us out, which I'm like, thank God, now we get to find our own place, honestly. But it was like really dramatic, and I got the police called on me, whatever. Okay, let's fast forward to November of 2023. So this is a 7-degree Capricorn moon in the 6th house. After not having a stable living situation since I lived in California, I don't know, was that like blah, blah, blah years ago? I can't remember. After so much struggles, right? One of the places that we wanted to stay at, I got turned down because I didn't have enough loans out. I didn't have enough loans out. They said, oh, you own your car. And I said, yeah, isn't that a good thing? No, you need more loans. I was like, no, I fucking don't. They were like, you only have 2 credit cards. I was like, yeah. Anyways, it was just like stupid shit, again, trying to get in my way. So, but again, we found the place we were meant to find, obviously, and that's the place that we found in November. So yeah, we're 7-degree Capricorn moon in the 6th house, and I always say to clients with progressed like moons and like progressed placements, maybe sometimes with the other inner planets like Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, it can really feel like you just wake up one day and you're like different in an attitude in that way. Like when my Venus changed from Capricorn to Aquarius, I literally just felt like I woke up overnight and changed. But with progressed moons, I think it's a little different. It takes some time, I think. I've noticed to kind of get situated. Emotions flow a little bit differently. There's just a little bit more waters. The tides get mixed up. It's not as much the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. It's a little bit more, So basically, in the 7 degrees, I feel like it's finally like, okay, this is like what it wanted me to find, right? And why I had all these obstacles and why it just kept on not working out quite. So we have this house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. We have 3 dogs. My boyfriend has 2. I have 1. And then we also kind of inherited/adopted their mom. So then all of a sudden we have 4 pit bulls living in this house. They hang out in a big yard. We have a bunch of beds. They have a ton of space. I get this whole office to myself, right? Like basically I'm getting that foundation that I was desperately looking for so that I can kind of have a jumping off point to do all my astrology stuff, my business, and everything I've wanted, but we really struggle to get off our feet, which I'm not trying to talk about my boyfriend, who I guess is now my ex. Honestly, I struggle to get off my feet, very Capricorn moon where there was lots of struggle, like really lots of financial struggles, very dramatically. Also very 6th house moon, like I was very hungry, especially with this square Saturn. I talked about that, I feel like a little bit, like, everybody, this is like something weird to say, but like everybody, during that time especially, I had really bad bangs. That's why I've been growing out my bangs, because it's been so bad, because the person I got my bangs trimmed from where I live, like I would never get my bangs cut here. It would never in a billion years. Like in this like podunk, like the hills have eyes town. So I drive into Vegas to get my bangs trimmed, but I couldn't afford it because of the gas and then the bang trim and the tip and then the gas back. It would be like well, I'm already not eating. Like I can't, if I have any money, it's gonna go towards eating today because I've already given up everything else. And so I was having to cut my own bangs, and I got shit on a lot for having shitty bangs on TikTok. And I was like, motherfuckers, I agree. Can you buy some ratings so I can go get my bangs trimmed? I'm just kidding. And you did, so I've been fixing them since. Anyways, what was the point? Oh yeah, we struggled. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just, it was very square Saturn. Like, it was really square Saturning. At first, funny enough though, I remember having a lot of free time and being bored. I also had to get this part-time job that I hated, very well, I didn't hate it. It was fine. It just didn't stimulate me intellectually at all. It was like the anti-Gemini Sagittarius job, but it was also kind of Sagittarius-y actually, because I liked it because it was very like, you picked up shifts. It was very sporadic. It worked for me and my schedule and all this stuff. It was like a convention job, but it just didn't stimulate my brain, right? But it was like good money though, so I would make chunks of money at a time, and it really saved me, and kind of like, basically that job helped fund the job that I wanted to do, which is this, right? And so I'm very thankful for that job. But y'all know I run into all these issues with the Pisces with it, and it ran out. So anyways, moving forward. But very moon square Mars, just because I felt like the job was very stagnant, and I really was just doing it for the money. And as a Capricorn, I hate just doing jobs for money. I mean, I work for money, of course. I'm not going to work for free, but I also don't just like, you know, doing something where it's like, I'm not going anywhere with this. Like, I don't like wasting time either, right? You know? Yeah, spoiling the dogs, spending a lot of time with the dogs. I also was really starting to feel the weight the second we moved into the house though, of having to take care of everything and everyone involved in this house, and really like having all that weight on my shoulders, which is another big theme of a 6th house moon, and I think a Capricorn moon as well. I really felt like I understood my mom at another level, which is my mom was a Capricorn moon as well. And I felt like I understood her role in my childhood a lot more. And I didn't understand, I think, how little my dad did, right? I always had lumped them together for stuff that I realized thinking back was actually just my mom. I just assumed my dad was involved too, but probably not. And there's a lot of other things I've found out and realized. Anyway, so I realized how much my mom took on the weight of everything, like very Capricorn moon, like both working and earning all the money, as well as taking care of everything around the house, as well as being the prominent one there for the kid. Now, my dad was present for me though, so I would never say that, but my mom was present for me in more mundane, boring ways than my dad had to be, which is very Capricorn moon. And I felt like that's how I was showing up in this situation. And I was so happy to have this house that I think I was just wanting to take care of it and so willing, and it was hard when that wasn't reciprocated. But also it's like I care about these dogs so much, and yeah, anyways. So that weight of that Capricorn moon in the 6th house started almost as immediately as like the relief and sigh of it started as well. I read a lot. I was still reading a lot as well in my free time. Anyway, so let's fast forward from November to April. That's basically what had been happening. So now we're in April of 2024, okay, which is a 13-degree Capricorn moon. This is really creeping up on my natal moon. I didn't realize that the first half of the moon was really bad. I thought that it let off like at like 5 or 6 degrees, but now I wonder why I had struggled with my progressed lunar return, you know, for a lot of it. Even though I will say during this time, I felt like a little bit of a relief, because I was like, at least I know this. Does that make sense? Because it's my lunar return, right? I'm like, at least I get this. Like, this is more of the environment that I grew up around, where it's kind of like, I was like, go, 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 go. I felt like I was kind of able to almost like show off what I'm good at, which is like productivity and organization and discipline, while also still having fun on the weekends. Like, yes, you know, my childhood really set me up to be able to be in this position where I have nobody, you know, over my head, but I'm able to discipline myself. So there was kind of like a feeling of like, I can kind of shine in this environment, even though it is hard, you know. This is like at least a little bit more of a comfort zone for me, and something I can do, whereas like progressed Scorpio moon, progressed Libra moon, I felt so just like like, this isn't me. This isn't what I'm used to. I don't really know how to go about this stuff as much. I don't have the tools for this as much. You know, I also had a lot of, I also had credit card debt for the first time, okay? During the end of my I think I talked about this during my progressed Sagittarius moon, and the beginning of this progressed Capricorn moon. That was really stressing me out, and really, I had a bad credit score for the first time in my life. Not horrible, but not like, I have an amazing credit score now, back to a really good one, but like, so fast forward to April 2024. This is about a year and a half ago from when I'm filming this. Saturn has finally laid off, which is nice, but it's still square Mars. I also want to say I was struggling a lot during this time. I don't feel too comfortable talking about it too much. Have I made a video about Moon square Mars? I think I made a video about Moon opposite Mars. But Moon square Mars is different. I will be honest, it is different. I was dealing with during this time the issues of feeling very uncomfortable in my body and of just the other sexual stuff that comes with Moon square Mars. I don't really feel too comfortable talking about it, but I do want to talk about it enough to say, yes, I experienced all those things as well. Also reactivity, right? Like lots of fights, definitely lots. And it wasn't just bickerings though. I've bickered with people before, but I was really fighting with my boyfriend, and I was really reactive, right? Like I was easy to get towards a meltdown, which I have Moon trine Mars right now, I will say, and I'm in a similar place with it. I feel like I'm trying to get a better hold on it, but it's definitely like I am very reactive. Not the other issues, like I feel more comfortable in my body, but I'm very reactive still. But with Moon square Mars, yeah, it's not a good, I hate it. I hate that aspect, okay? In one way or another, there's something fucked up going on in your sex life, like something where it's just a little off or whatever. You feel uncomfortable in your body. Maybe you feel rejection, or maybe you feel rejected, or maybe you feel like you don't look how you normally. But I was dealing with like being too skinny. That's what it was. And that's like such a sore subject to talk about with people, but you have to remember, this is like, I was not eating. Like, this is not like that was a problem because I wasn't eating, honestly, because I didn't have money to feed myself, right? And I was also responsible for feeding my boyfriend, and it was challenging, as I was also responsible for feeding 4 dogs, and I was wanting to spoil them, so it was challenging. So I was feeling uncomfortable in my own skin because I was so skinny, which is 6th house energy does a lot of time deal with like eating problems or eating disorders. I didn't have an eating disorder, but like, again, even if you don't have like an eating disorder, stuff comes up. I think I've talked about this in something in the 6th house recently, when I was talking about Saturn transits and Saturn in the 6th house, right? So I know that's like awkward to talk about, but I just want to get it out there that Moon square Mars, Moon opposite Mars, is like, oh, it sucks. It's like, I almost want to categorize it with fucking Pluto aspects, like Pluto squares. Like, it sucks. Even if you're not somebody that's like a workaholic like I am, it just sucks. It just sucks. It just sucks. And this is just, and I get that, like, yeah, if you have it natally, are you like, I'm doomed? You're not, your whole life isn't doomed because of this aspect. But like, it sucks, okay? And it's one of those crosses you have to bear. I think it's one of those aspects that's like that. Like how my Mars opposite Saturn is like a cross to bear. Okay, yeah, Moon Mars, fucking cross to bear. Sometimes even Moon conjunct Mars because they go off the wall, dude. And also, you know what also was a big theme of Moon square Mars? I always say it's like violence towards women or aggression towards women. Nobody was violent towards me, thank the Lord. But, there's no women in my life. I was around a bunch of men, and especially like misogynistic men if I would go to car shows or blah, 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 like my town and stuff. That's why I have no friends. Why do I have no friends? Fucking, everyone here's, you know, whatever. I don't want to categorize a whole group of people. I was around just like all of that bullshit, and I hated it. And I wanted to be like, where are the women? Which is, I think, also Moon square Mars, okay? Okay. So we're April 2024, right? Okay, we just have Moon square Mars, but it's almost ending. It's pretty much over. Oh, yes. Okay, so this is when everything did change when I lost those 2 aspects. Thank the Lord. Okay, so me and my boyfriend met at this car show called Viva Las Vegas. We go back every year. So around this time, we went back to Viva for, I think it was the third time. And his dad wound up getting really sick in the middle of it, and everything kind of changed. He wound up living with his dad, basically, or living at his dad's house to take care of the dogs. I had a lot of free time. And that's when I went back onto TikTok, and that's when things kind of took off, right? So it was, right, like, even if you know astrology, it's like, I can't control that. It's just weird that when I lost those two aspects, that it was like, oh, that's when I found success in what I was looking for. And that's what's very discouraging about progress charts, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, it can be just sometimes as simple as like bad aspects equals bad time. Good aspects equals good time in life. And so that's why it can, like, even if you don't know, it's just like, it just happens that way. Like, okay, I will say as like a side note, like, that's kind of why I'm making this big risk right now, because I'm going through a really good progressed moon time. So I feel like I can't make a mistake. It'll be fine. Is that weird to say? Because if I was going through a hard time in the progressed moon, I'd be like, I'm making a horrible decision. But I feel like, well, no matter what decision I make, I'll be fine, because my progressed moon is fine for the next like 2 years. So it's like, anyways, started doing TikTok again. One of the first random TikToks I did, like I just woke up and I did, it took off and did pretty well. It got like 200K views, and I was really excited. That meant a lot to me. And then I caved and I joined the monetization program. And then in July of 2024, this is my exact progressed lunar return at 16 degrees. And when I was writing it, guys, I didn't actually realize this, but I almost want to cry, because it's really scary at how fucking... It's just like, we can't do anything other than just like roll through our progressed moons. Does that make sense? It's like, you just gotta roll through it. Because like, it's so accurate and it's scary. Okay? I don't know how else to say. It's like the most accurate predictive tool I've ever seen in my life. It's so fucking weird. My exact progressed lunar return. Okay, let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. I feel like, though, this is why I want to document stuff, because it's like, it's just weird. Like, I can't make a post. Like, even if I know astrology, it's not like I was trying to make myself successful beforehand, and it just wasn't working out. And then all of a sudden, I was purposefully posting imperfect videos where I looked like shit and I didn't have makeup on, just to get them out there and just to get started. Because if I get in my head too much about something and feel like I have to make the perfect post back, then I'll never do it. So I was just kind of like exposure therapying myself. And then one of them took off. And so it's like, I can't make that happen. It's not like, but it's like it does. It just is in line with the progressed moon. It's starting on my conjunctions, right? So we start off all my conjunctions here. Conjunct Mercury, square midheaven. I know that I had moon square midheaven this whole time, but I feel like I had moon trine midheaven. I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe I'll say what I was feeling. I felt like this internet world that I've created was like my release, and the place that I could like maybe really be myself, or like talk about things, or have my own perspective, or even be heard, you know? Whereas I felt like maybe this is moon square midheaven, yeah. Whereas I felt like in my personal life, I didn't get that same respect, or, you know, especially like even in my town, like I'm not around people that even... This is gonna be shitty to say, whatever, I'll expose myself. I really like astrology and I really like talking about it. Just that's where it's coming from. I like living in like LA and even a little bit of Vegas, but especially LA, because everybody wants to know about astrology. Like when you talk about, everybody wants to hear about themselves. And so I get to talk about astrology all the time as someone who's autistic. And so it was so fun. But when I moved here, I didn't get to talk about it because nobody would ask and nobody would care. And I'm like, I'm trying to just talk about you so I can talk about astrology. Like, I'll just talk about your chart though. Like, I don't know. So it was so hard because I wanted to teach so bad, and I wanted to talk about it so bad, and I wasn't getting the opportunity. And then I was finally getting the opportunity online, and it was like awesome. As dumb as, I don't know, that's a goofy way to say it, but it's true. And that makes sense that it was conjunct Mercury, because I felt like, I guess I did feel like I could like talk, and I felt like I was kind of really starting to really trust myself more, if that makes sense with it all. So I started picking up, gaining followers, and this became something that made enough money to become a job. July was my turning point in my life. I will always remember July because it's just my forever turning point when I this was not just a part-time job anymore. It was never something that could pay 100% for things, right? And then finally, and then in July, it was like a full-time job for the first time ever. Not only was it a full-time job, like I was getting by, but I was actually like making enough money to I started making enough money to qualify for an apartment, which is like like you're rich. If you can qualify on your own for a studio or a 1-bedroom apartment, you're fucking rich, okay? And so I was like, I'm fucking rich. So yeah, it was finally a decently aspected Capricorn moon in the 6th house. Was I rich so that I can afford a yacht? Was it like 10th house, 11th house? No. But I could eat, I could buy cute things, I could buy the things that I needed, I could pay my bills pretty quickly. I had things on auto pay and I didn't think about it that seriously. And if things would get taken out on auto pay, I'd be like, I'm okay still, you know? Yeah, it was a big turning point in my life, and it just happened to be the exact moment of my progressed lunar return, which was kind of getting what I'd always wanted, which was working for myself and doing what I loved and making money for the thing that I love doing and I love talking about and whatever, and that's astrology. Right? The progressed moon being in my 6th house, what it looked like was like daily work, right? 6th house daily work, because I'm working from home, so it's very 6th housey, little choresy, but I'm also owning a business, so it does feel like Capricorny, but it's like a business it's like a small business, which is very 6th house. 6th house must be very small business, you know what I mean? But it's still in Capricorn. I was actually doing well for a small business. Shocked. I still am, thank you. Okay. Basically, I was able to quit my part-time job in August, and I never looked back, and by quit my part-time job, I mean, you can watch that zodiac ranking video where I talk about Pisces. I think I talk about it there, but you know, it's politics, job politics, that they didn't want me around anymore. That's what I kind of think. Anyways, but it worked out because that's when things took off. So I had no choice but to continue forward because I had lost that part-time job, which I also funded some trips. I went on a lot of trips during this summer. And yeah, I lost a lot of money to those trips. It's whatever, long story. Okay. I kept my head down though. Basically during this time, I kind of had the mentality of like, you can't split your life amongst like 7 things. You really can only focus on like 1 to 2, maybe 3, not really, like 2 things. Like you can really only split yourself amongst 2 things. So the things that I was like, I need to fully concentrate on: 1, work, you know, my career, and 2, the house and the dogs. That was like all I could have time to do. So that's all I did. I didn't have time for friends. I tried to make time to go out, but I didn't have time for anything else because, you know, when you do want to especially commit yourself to like your job or career, you kind of do have to put blinders on a little bit. And I was kind of ready to do that, honestly. There wasn't much else I wanted to do during this time. I was taking care of like what I think is a huge house on my own all of a sudden. So yeah, I had to learn how to clean. I had to learn how to take care of dogs. I did a lot of research. I had to learn how to run a business. You know, I was doing my TikTok, my YouTube, and private readings. And I had a boyfriend. And I had like, you know, a long-term monogamous boyfriend who felt like a husband in a lot of ways. And it was just the 2 of us, you know. I definitely was very motivated. And I definitely took advantage of it, but also, you know, you burn yourself out. I did not burn myself out on work, but I did burn myself out on house chores and cleaning. And everything, like, over it, you know? Especially doing, like, doing things that I just shouldn't be doing, like doing everything. And it just sucked because I felt like I was getting all this heat and I was the only one doing anything, and I'm the only one that does anything in this whole fucking town is how it honestly feels. But I will definitely, like, I was motivated, but I will never wind my wheel like that again, honestly. I really felt like I had something to prove, which I think is very Capricorn 6th house moon. I felt like I sat around on my ass for like that year where I was living in the RV and everything was so weird and all that shit happened. And I just felt like I especially felt like I needed to get my shit together. But I will say I really enjoyed these few months. I remember writing about them in like my journals and being like, I wish I could pause time. Like, I don't think I'll feel this happy and this content again. You know, it started to be probably conjunct my Neptune at that time too. Felt very like, finally I'm reaching this dream, because I'd wanted a house so bad. I had dogs. I I'd always wanted dogs. I always had dogs growing up. I love dogs. Like, there was a lot that I did do that I was so happy about, but it's still the 6th house, and the 6th house is a lot of mundane work. That's what pissed me off, was the mundane chores that didn't get me anywhere, but wasted my time and wasted my free time and wasting the only time I had to relax. And I just wanted to slow down because I just knew that that happiness and that contentment kind of wasn't gonna last. Like, I had so many moments where I remember looking out and being like, I wish I could just pause this, you know? Nothing else happens except, you know, we just kind of, like, me and my boyfriend kind of stop going out as much, and it stops being as fun, and I kind of hole up a little bit, and I get a little like, and I kind of get tired of not having any girls around, so I start watching reality TV more, and it helps me learn astrology like so well. So I would like to pause and kind of talk about some other stuff that's going on during this time, because everything talks to each other. So natally, I have Neptune in the 7th house. And also in transit, I had Venus square Neptune. And I actually realized I might be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, Venus square Neptune was my first ever harsh Neptune aspect. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was my first ever square or opposition to Neptune ever with any of my personal planets, at least. And natally, I have no harsh Neptune aspects. And so it was my first time ever experiencing this like harsh Neptune aspect of Venus square Neptune, and Moon was conjunct my Neptune. And basically I was just so, I don't know how to say this. I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but I did have rose tinted glasses on with my boyfriend, and I would tell him that, and I knew that, right? And that's why it was so nice, because I would look at him and I would see these starry eyes, and like I really tried to, I guess I'll just say, like, I martyred myself, and I guess maybe I did play victim, but I definitely gave too much and didn't understand boundaries or how to create boundaries in a relationship. Especially, I was never taught how you need to create boundaries in a relationship as a woman, because I was never taught about relationships. This was my first monogamous relationship, and there's just a lot I didn't know. And I felt like this transit aspect really brought it out, and it was emphasized by this Moon conjunct Neptune. And so I just felt like it was getting to that tipping point. I had this aspect for almost like our whole relationship, and it made it so good and so sweet sometimes, but also like when that aspect broke, which I think was right as my Capricorn moon ended and it went into Aquarius, which I guess I'll get to in May, but it was like that. It literally, like, it was like, because it was just a transit, I felt like I took the rose tinted glasses off, and then after that I had Venus square Saturn, and I put, like, I don't know what to call it, like the X-ray vision goggles on, and so I could like see everything. It was like I was trying to see. It was like the opposite. It was like looking through everything with like a critical magnoscope. Whereas with Venus square Neptune transit, it was rose tinted glasses. I really literally felt like I saw stars when I looked at him, and I never felt that before. That's what I mean by it's my first Neptune aspect. I had never felt that like Neptunian trance before, you know, with somebody, and that's, you know, and it's toxic, it's lethal, it's so interesting, you know? But yeah, basically in January of 2025, we're getting onto my grand conjunction time, you know, where it hits everything. So right in this time, Moon conjunct Mercury, Neptune, Venus, Jupiter, Uranus, dear Lord, and it's also square midheaven opposite ascendant, because I do feel like, you know what it is, I felt like online I was seen very clearly. Even when I would get hate, I'd be like, I mean, it isn't that far off, but I felt like in my real life, oh my god, it was like, nobody believed my emotions. I was like, and it was very triggering, because I felt like when I was a child and nobody would believe my emotions, right? Progressed lunar return too. You know, I turned 28. And I really do feel like I fully know myself more. And I feel like, oh, like my life is starting, and I like, what do I want to do with it? Right? Like now I have the opportunity and the stability that I've always wanted. What am I going to do with it? I realized, and it was like, I don't know. I was just like, oh, I'm in a very good position. I don't have any kids. I don't have any divorces. I don't have any diseases, to knock on wood. Like, I'm no debt. I'm no student loan debt. I got my credit card, bills. I paid off my credit card. I got great credit score again. I was kind of like sitting pretty. We got our landlords to like us, feel more comfortable being here. We're on a month-to-month lease. So it's kind of like good. Like, yeah. And it's kind of felt like I was like, I got everything I want. Like, I've gotten everything that I've wanted as far as work and career goes. And I'm like really happy. And I love my dog too. She's awesome. My dogs are awesome. My dogs are my family. My dogs are my life. Okay, so I decide, oh, yes. This is January. Oh, yeah. So the other thing I do is I decide, I'll tell this quickly. I decide I want to move on past what happened with me and my dad during my progressed Sagittarius moon in the 5th house. I think our past is stronger than our little tiff, truly. But basically, I try to reach out. I reach out first. He's kind of like, he ghosts me. I sent him a card because he's a Pisces. I figured he'd like it. And I say basically, I think we need to forget about what happened and, wipe it clean. And so finally he reaches back out to me. I say he wants to talk, so we talk. And basically, I feel like everyone's heard this story. I feel like I've told it 1,000 times, but I'll tell it again. We're talking and he's like, oh yeah. So he's like retirement age. And so he's like, oh, I just wanted to let you know I retired. And I was like, honestly, I'm happy for you. My parents are both huge workaholics, as you would expect. And so I was happy to hear that he retired, honestly. And then he was like, yeah, especially it had to do with he worked on the Vegas Strip, and so he's like, oh, there's a lot of traffic going into the Strip, especially with like this fear now. And, I got married last November. And so it was just nice to not have to drive into town. And I was like, that's how he told me. I know I tell that story a lot, but I was like, how emotionally immature. And I reacted. I got so mad because I was so mad how he told me. He got mad that I got mad. And all right, guess. So basically he got married without me. He stops talking to me. I text him. He doesn't text me back. I call him. He doesn't call me back. So, you can't force somebody else to be where you are in a situation. And it was like, I think I've said this before. But I was like, I guess I have daddy issues now at 28. I didn't like... I guess it's giving Saturn return a little bit before my Saturn return, but still, it was just kind of weird. That happened in like February or March or something. So yeah, right before my Saturn return, I got daddy issues. Like, and that, like, rejection issues like that for the first time is weird. So anyways, I'm starting to feel drained and depleted. I feel like I've taken care of my boyfriend for too long. He had a progressed Cancer moon. I had a progressed Capricorn moon. And, that was the role in a lot of ways. I just desperately wanted to share more of the responsibilities. And it was so hard to get him to do so. And then the arguments were getting worse and worse and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into too much into it. It was just hard because I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it started to get into the way of work, which as a progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house, it was really frustrating, right? It's just like control. There was a lot of control. As my progressed moon was about to start to enter Aquarius in the 7th house. It's not there yet. But again, like I said, I really do think start to feel the rumblings of the progressed moon before it happens, and it takes some time to settle into it. And so I was starting to feel like, I want to socialize again. I hadn't wanted to for a long time, honestly. And I was kind of like, okay, I think I'm ready to like put myself back out there and make a community and meet people that like astrology and put effort into meeting girls. Because I know that the reason why I don't have any friends is because I don't go outside and I don't try, because I was, just kind of like trying to focus on my work. And now I'm like, okay, now I want to. And without getting too much into it, I'll just say that my boyfriend has a Scorpio Venus and a Scorpio Mercury, and it was all the stereotypes of it were really coming out. And I realized that there was I was just, you know, and I have Pluto in the 5th house natally too. Maybe there's some control things that come with, you know, Capricorn moon in the 6th house. I definitely was trying to have a lot of control and focus and discipline over myself and wanting to be perfect and good as well. Like be the good girlfriend, be a good dog mom, be a good, you know, business owner, very like 6th house, right? And you know, I really don't want to bring I don't want to bring it too much. I feel like I am bringing too much into it, but it's just like going into my Aquarius 7th house moon, like I feel like it has a lot to do with friendships and community, and I have a real want to do in-person readings or take in-person classes or just do things more in person, like 7th house one-to-one instead of just online. I love doing online stuff so much, but I would like to be able to have a little bit more of a community, right? Still in Aquarius and the 7th house. That is a problem, especially because I don't have a community here and where I live. Okay, back to the focus. This is something else I want to say about Capricorn moon. Capricorn moon cares so much. Capricorn cares so much, okay? Cancer cares a lot, obviously, like, and Cancer is caring. Oh, that's what it is. Cancer's caring, but Capricorn cares a lot. I don't know if that makes sense, but like Capricorn cares a lot about everything in its life, okay? Capricorn moon especially has like emotional investment and cares about everything in its life. And so I felt like during this time, I cared a lot. And that was something that I always felt like in school, like, you know how people like maybe with Scorpio or Aquarius energy prominent would be all aloof and would be like, that's not cool. And they wouldn't care about doing things. They wouldn't care about this. They wouldn't care about that. Not me. Not me. I cared. I was lame and I cared. Okay? 6th house is lame. Capricorn is cringe. I was cringe and lame. I cared what my parents thought. I cared what happened to me. I'd care if I did something wrong. I'd care if I did something right. I'd care about the school project. I'd care about eating well. Like I just cared about everything. I don't know how else to explain it. And I felt like during this time, I cared about everything. Does that make sense? Also, the 6th house is mean. I've said that before. I find that people with Sun natally in the 6th house have a mean dad, or Saturn natally in the 6th house, they have a mean dad. Also, I was nagging all the time, which I knew was gonna happen, okay? When my moon was progressed in the 5th house in Sagittarius, I didn't have to nag because we didn't have a house and blah, 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 right? I didn't have to nag anybody. But during my progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house, the 6th house nags. I had to nag all the time. That's all I'll say. And it sucked and I don't want to do it anymore. I never wanted to do it in the first place. And I felt like that was obvious and that was, anyways. Okay. Actually, I feel like during this time though, I have had a lot of confidence. I will say that I feel like I've been very, very confident. I don't know if that's because I have a progressed Leo rising and it's like, I think at like 3 degrees, so it's, or 2 degrees or something, it's like a little bit more sat in. So that might be that energy. But even though I was like spiraling even before, you know, I kind of got settled in more, I had, for some reason, was confident. I don't know if that comes into Capricorn moon. I've always felt like there's a confidence to Capricorn, or like, I don't know if it's like an unbreakableness or something that reads as confidence, but that was not something I struggled with. But yeah, this is again around the time when, where did the flies come from? Anyways, basically the aspect of Venus square Neptune lifts and Venus square Saturn sits in. And I start to realize that I can change the things that I don't like. Oh, I could maybe I need to live on my own. I felt like I wasn't myself. I don't know. I felt like I was like, who am I? Like what is my 20s? My 20s has also looked so different to my 0 to 10 to 20s. Like so astronomically different. It's insane. If you're about to go into your 6th house progressed moon transit, I just want to say, it was far from my worst. It was actually really good at a lot of the time. It was actually really, really good. And I'm like really proud of myself and really impressed by myself. And it's like a really rewarding, good thing. Now that might be also because it's in Capricorn. I feel a little bit more that way because it's my natal moon placement. But you know what is the placement to look out for is, there's like a public service announcement. Wee woo, right? Like 4th house progressed moon. That is the new spooky dooky placement. Okay, well Scorpio progressed moon still is, but progressed 4th house moon, whenever I talk to anybody going through it, they're going through it with progressed 4th house moon. Progressed 6th house moon, I think, can be more rewarding if you're willing to step up and put in the work, put in the elbow grease. It can be good. Anyway, so let's go into May. We're coming to the end here of this video. Thank you for sticking around. Let me know what your This feels funny to say. Let me know what your progressed moon is right now. Maybe if you feel like sharing an anecdote or anything that felt like, oh my god, this is so my progressed moon. Oh my god, I went through progressed 6th house moon this time. I did so much laundry and then someone shot on me for doing their laundry too. Tell me about it. That was also a big theme of like progressed Capricorn moon in the 6th house. I felt underappreciated. I feel very appreciated in my career and in my job, right? We have a lot of really good aspects coming in, but I felt very underappreciated in real life, in anything outside of the realm of astrology, which I think is a very 6th house complex to have, right? I don't stand behind 6th house and their complexes and their nagging and their nitpicking and their problems and their fucking issues. Also, I do feel like maybe my mental health probably did come up. I have felt so autistic. I will be honest, like not in the best way. Not that like autism is bad or wrong, but I just mean like the harder sides of autism have been like coming out. But that's very Aquarius moon as well. 6th house Aquarius is so autistic. Anybody have that placement? Anybody diagnosed? Anyways, I'm getting off track. Okay. Last month of Capricorn moon, 29 degrees, is May of 2025. I have all the same moon aspects I've mentioned before, plus moon sextile Saturn and Pluto and trine Mars. Woo! It's kind of like a lot. This video is so long. Is this video too long? What are some other things that happened? Okay, let me also talk about some other changes. Okay, so here's a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about. Fuck! I thought this video was almost over. Okay, and oh my god, there's a literal dust storm happening. Jesus. Oh my god, I'm going to have to... Oh, this is so long! In early spring and summer, me and my boyfriend go to some fun things, but it's just not the same. And this stuff gets really hard to talk about. I don't really want to talk about this, actually, but that's just what I'll say, okay? It's just things aren't the same, right? I feel weak and beaten down, and I feel tired, and I think, and he's going through his own stuff, too, and I'm not going to speak for him. You know, I have my own fucking issues. I'm far from perfect. I also realize the Sagittarius, you know, that Sagittarius does not know how to spend money, whether they have it or don't have it. They kind of are always, they just don't know. They don't know. Oh, this is what I'll say. They can make a lot of money and they can spend a lot of money, Sagittarius, okay? But during this time, I start to want community and friendship more. I start to realize I have free will also in my life. And I'm like really getting that, I'm getting like the opposite of homesick, where I'm like, I can't live so close to my hometown anymore. I live so close to Vegas. I hate it. This town doesn't offer me anything. It doesn't match me or fit my personality at all. I have a job that can be anywhere. Am I really able to be stuck here forever? Was like a lot of stuff, and I don't know. Saturn return is happening. I will be moving it. My moon will be moving into the 7th house when I move next month. And I find that my 7th house translates very differently to other people's 7th house. I felt like my 7th house is extraordinarily friendship oriented and connection oriented, psychological and observational. Now, I do have in my progressed chart Venus in my 7th house, but natally, I don't have really romantic placements. What I predict is that I'll be going back to more like my childhood, where I grew up in like dance classes classes and acting classes, singing classes, music classes around a bunch of girls, growing up with friend groups and friendships with girls that were so strong that they felt like relationships even though they weren't romantic or intimate in any way. And I feel like that's really what my 7th house is. Now, it still does have to do with relationships, of course, but for the first 20 years of my life when I had no semblance of a relationship at all or was even interested in people, I guess for the first 18 years of my life before I was at all interested in people, it showed up as friendships. And that's why whenever I talk about the 7th house, I like to also specify it's one-on-one relationships of any kind. Here, I'll go through the aspects really quick that I have. Moon conjunct Mercury. I feel like I'm so honest and I've been speaking like as clearly as possible, and I feel like haven't been able to film and put content out as I mentioned because I can't not speak truly and honestly. Moon conjunct Uranus. Oh my god, I'm so unpredictable. Moon square Uranus has been showing up. I think, was it in my solar return chart or my Saturn return chart? Oh my god, I've been so unpredictable. So unusual. Wow. Yeah, Moon conjunct Venus. I feel like I've been trying to learn how to be aligned with what femininity means to me and what being a female means as well. Sorry, there's a dust storm, so if it's kind of dark, that's why. Moon conjunct Neptune. Oh my god, I feel like I'm in my own little world in a haze too. And also, you know, obviously I do astrology all the time. Moon conjunct Jupiter. Oh my god, my emotions have also been like high highs, low lows. So like as much as I'm a Capricorn, well, I guess I'm Aquarius moon right now. So that makes sense with the Aquarius moon right now. But yeah, that was the start of like, dude, I feel like autistic as fuck. I don't know. And also just like all over the place. Moon sextile Saturn. Oh my god, I'm realizing that I'm very capable. Dude, I applied for an apartment and got the first one that I applied for, and I'm like, I can't believe I can have my own apartment. That's insane. Moon trine Mars. I love my job. I feel very comfortable in my body right now. It's not all perfect, but I definitely do feel like my momentum's more aligned. Moon sextile Pluto. Ugh, yeah, everything's so intense. It's all intense. It's all intense. The changes are intense, but at least I guess they're in my hands, which is even scarier. Anyways, okay, I feel like I'm overwhelmed. Okay. Venus, when Venus moved into my 7th house, I stopped Venus in the 6th house thing of doing laundry and wanting to take care. I wanted like a equal partnership, and I also realized what being the person that carries the child no matter what means and how that plays out and how that actually does really impact a relationship even if I don't want to feel like it does. And it just, I don't know, my whole perspective on relationships changed and is still changing, and what I wanted from one changes. And it's just weird. When Venus was in my 6th house, you'd think it was the opposite. I was like, just so martyry, right? Do everything, be everything. And now I'm just kind of like, fuck that. And with Lilith moving to my 1st house, oh my god, I've been, yeah, so much more just like, I'll just be mean. I'm just gonna be mean. And I'm just gonna just say things and do what I want and be selfish. Fine. If you're gonna call me selfish, I'm the most selfish person alive now. I don't know how else to say, which I feel like is very Lilith and Leo in the 1st house and my Saturn return in Aries. Anyways, I'm sure I'll find a better relationship with that some other time, but this is a long ass video. I really just need to close it up, wrap it up. I've rambled forever. This is so personal. You know too much about my life now. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out again. I'd love to hear about your progressed moon and, you know, if anything kind of came out or reminded you of it in the comments. It's good to learn from others' experiences. I would rate overall my progressed Capricorn moon a 9.5 out of 10, and I would rate my progressed 6th house moon a 6.5 to 7. I would rate it a 6.5 out of 10 because sometimes it was a 3 out of 10 and sometimes it was a 7 out of 10. That probably doesn't equal 6.5, but in girl math it does. But yeah, say goodbye to my background. Much love, you guys. Thank you for watching and supporting me during this time. All right, I'm so sad I don't want to leave because now I'm somebody in the last time in the background. All right, this isn't goodbye. This is just goodbye for now. So goodbye for now. Bye.